Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Talking Devils podcast, brought to you by talkthedevils.co.uk and streaming live on YouTube and the Talk Sport Podcast Network as well. I'm your host, Keane, here this evening, and I am joined by two great men. To the right of me, joined by Mr. Phil Marsh, former Manchester United striker, and also joined by Lee Lawrence, former Manchester United defender. It is the new season. It's the time where hopes and dreams are creeping up. Everyone's kind of having, I suppose, big expectations going into a season. All the hope, all the excitement, it's all there. So there's no two better men to be talking to today about this upcoming season. First of all, Phil, how are you? How's it going?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. As I said last week, I'm off work at the moment, so just enjoying a little bit of downtime. Come back off my holidays the week before last, and obviously got some nice weather in England as well here. So just enjoying a bit of downtime. Looking forward to the football season starting.
Absolutely. And is the weather still good in the UK at the moment? I know it's unreal over here in Ireland at the moment.
I've actually caught the sun. I mean, I don't know if you can tell there, but I was doing a little bit of sunbathing yesterday in my garden, and I think I've caught the sun a little bit. So yeah, it was about 28, 29 yesterday, which is good for UK.
Yeah, we've about 26, 27 over here as well, which is mad because it does nothing but rain over here. It's like, so Ireland keeps their grass green, though, as the stereotype would tell you. Lee, how are you? Are you well?
I'm very well, mate. Unlike Phil, I've not had the luxury of being off work. I've been sat in an office for 8 hours a day getting shouted at of customers. So, yeah, that's probably why Phil looks like he's been on holiday, and I probably look like I need a holiday. But apart from that, mate, yeah, everything's good on my side. Got myself a little charity match on Sunday just before the game against Arsenal. So it's the first time I've played football in over a year. I do only lace the boots up once a year now for my friend who sadly passed away. So we have a charity match every year for him. It's landed on this Sunday. And stupidly enough, I've done zero fitness work whatsoever. So I'm hoping to God we've got a lot of substitutes for rolling on and rolling off. So I've got that to look forward to on Sunday. And then I've got a proper game of football to watch, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good to see that you're getting togged out again, and you'll enjoy yourself Sunday. And also, by the way, for the viewers and the listeners, I've kind of challenged Phil and Lee to do their own crossbar challenge as well, because I sent them the challenge today. So hopefully we can get that on Sunday as well as the main event of the United Arsenal game as well, Lee.
He's only saying that because he hit it first time and he wants to make him both.
Hey, and to be fair, I'm gonna absolutely lie through my teeth here and say it was absolutely the first try that I had. But anyway, obviously it's good to see you both. And look, we have a lot to chat about tonight, obviously, in relation to Man United season, as well as, all other stuff that's going on. But I suppose I'm going to kick this off straight away. Obviously, I suppose one of the stories that's come out, we've obviously been building well through the summer in terms of recruiting players, bringing in Cunha and Wemo, Benjamin Sesko and Diego Leon. On the flip side of that, obviously, Joe Rashford's after leaving on loan. Me and Lee were just speaking off air just a couple of minutes ago just about how that's after panning out in terms of like the situation and the culture around the club. And then obviously we've Ruben Amorim's trying to change culture, lads, and he's trying to, I suppose, bring back some glory days to United, but also set standards in the dressing room. You two were in a dressing room where standards were sky high, and it was a competitive dressing room. At the start of this week, we've seen reports come out that Alejandro Garnacho, academy graduate, has said that you either sell me to Chelsea or basically I'm going to sit in my backside for 12 months in a World Cup year, by the way, as well. Lee, I'll come to you first on this. What do you make of, I suppose, this Garnacho saga, first of all? And do you think Ruben Amorim was doing the right thing, essentially, after the Europa League final in, I suppose, telling him to find a new club because the attitude it seems like he's having at the moment?
Yeah, definitely, mate. I think the Amorim's probably got the right approaches in, like you just kind of mentioned, them bringing back the discipline what we had when Ferguson was here, because we don't seem to have that. We've mentioned it over the years many times on this podcast now about the differences when, like you just said, me and Phil was growing up at the club. Social media's got a hell of a lot to do with it. There was not much social media, if any, around when we was trying to make it at United. So we didn't really get involved in that world, unfortunately. And like I said, we've said it for years upon years now. It's getting worse to me. and this we were just on a bit off like you rightly said. You're a player like Garnacho, you're a player like Rashford, the manager, you know, you might become out of favour, and you know that happens sometimes in football for whatever reason. But nowadays, you know, you'd keep your head down, you'd have a bit of pride, especially in the training field and on the pitch. And if you did get a bit of game time, even if you knew you weren't in favour and you was looking at a move, surely to God you've had that pride within yourself to want to look like you want to play football, want to impress other clubs and other teams. You want to show the fans that you still care about the club, you know. And it's nothing against the fans. For me, it's just an absolute madness the way they go about things now. The player power is ridiculous. I don't know whether a lot of it comes from their agents or the guys who's looking after the social media accounts. But just take care of yourself on the pitch and let all the rest of it take care of itself. Just have a bit of pride and a bit of, you know, a bit of pride in your performance and the way you handle yourself, and let the rest of it take care of itself. That's my opinion on it.
And Phil, I flip this to you, like, I suppose, like with this, I think, like anything, if you want to leave an environment, there's a way to deal with this, isn't there? In terms of, like, moving on, wanting to, I suppose, expand your career. Maybe the club and the circumstances don't suit you, but when the way you were brought up through the academy, surely, Joe, there's a level of gratitude that a player should have coming through the cliff and coming through Carrington.
Yeah, 100%. I think Lee basically hit the nail on the head there with the amount of distractions now and the player power and sort of, you know, being ill-advised. I think I listened to the Gary Neville podcast this afternoon, and he was sort of comparing the Isaac situation, which, you know, you look at, he's trying to engineer a move out of the club similar to the Garnacho situation, but they brought up like the Rooney when he sort of announced before the Champions League game that he was leaving, and then obviously it transpired that he didn't end up leaving, but his attitude and the way he came back and trained, and his whole demeanour around the club, even, you know, when all that speculation was going on, he was still an utmost professional, doing everything right, giving his best in training. And when he was called upon to come back into the team after he'd, you know, apologised, he did everything, and the rest is history. I think nowadays you see players who have got all these sort of, you know, they feel sort of as though they're entitled to sort of be in that position that they're in, and they don't really need to work as hard because they've been given probably the luxury of a 4 or 5 year contract. I think the money in football now has sort of done that to a lot of players, and I think, you know, when me and Lee was at the club, it was, you know, you felt like you was in a privileged position. You knew that every single day was an opportunity to sort of, you know, learn and become a better player, better person. And yeah, I think because of the way the game's gone and obviously everything that's come with it, I think a lot of players have lost that hunger and desire and sort of, you know, the mentality of what it is to be a professional footballer. And especially at Manchester United, you know, there's no better place to sort of come through the ranks and learn your trade, you know, experiencing the amount of things you get to experience, going to different countries, playing football, you know, having all the specialists who work with you to make you, you know, be at the utmost and hitting your prime for the start of the season. It's, you know, it's shocking really when you look at what Garnacho's actually behaving like. It's like a spoilt brat really, if you know, look at it away from football, not getting his own way. And obviously, you know, as I said, that's what money does to you.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like, not to insult him, right, but like, he's won a couple of trophies at United. He's had a couple of alright seasons, and for me, he like, his idol is Ronaldo. Both of you played with Ronaldo. Ronaldo didn't do this. While Ronaldo had petulance at some points on the pitch, he worked hard. And even when he wanted to leave, he promised Sir Alex he'd give him another year. He'd stay professional throughout that. Do you know what I mean? And if he's trying to model himself on arguably one of the most hard-working people to level themselves up in football, in sport even, this is not the way to do it. Like,
no, I think the difference as well, as you just touched on there, obviously Ronaldo being one of his role models, if not, you know, his favourite player. you know, you look at someone like Ronaldo who has got the arrogance of somebody who, you know, wants to be the best player in the world and has the self-confidence to back it up and do it. But what you've got to look at in terms of the Ronaldo situation is he does everything else as well. He keeps his nose clean. He's not doing things outside of football that's bringing unnecessary attention. He's putting the extra work in. He's keeping his diet very well, because you can see how, you know, his physique, and he's sort of still being able to play at the top level, you know, at the age of 40. So I think he's sort of looking at sort of certain aspects of Ronaldo, but sort of channeling it in the wrong way. As I say, he's still a young kid. He's not really done that much in the game up to now. Yet he's got massive potential, but you know, you need to keep sort of, you know, your eyes on the prize, and sort of, you know, not get distracted by all this other stuff that's going on, which, you know, a lot of players do nowadays. So that would be my advice to him if you know, it was if it did happen where you could speak to him and say, you know, that this is, you know, where you're at, and you always have to keep working and keep striving to be better.
Yeah, 100%. And like the quality is there in the player, like in terms of like his potential, and like he's shown it on occasion for United. He scored big goals. He scored in an FAU Cup final. He scored in an FA Cup final. Do you know what I mean? Like there's talent there, but I think he's just like, I think number one, he's ill advised, and number two, I don't think he helps himself when he's getting pictured getting tattoos and being seen vaping. Well, not vaping, but having a vape in his hand. See what I mean? It's little things like that when you're trying to engineer a move to another club. When that stuff gets leaked, that actually doesn't help you at all. That actually weakens your position to leave, because the other club will not be willing to pay money for you.
No. No. It's got to be frustrating for him, Keane, because, like I say, he's got a world of potential. He's, you know, over the last few seasons, he's shown what he can actually do, and he's got potential in abundance. It's got to be frustrating for him, and I understand that being a footballer, you know, he's put some great performances in. He's scored some crucial goals for us over the last couple of years, and it does look like he's got it in him. So I can understand the frustration, but, you know, be frustrated in the right way. Prove someone wrong. If you're going to be frustrated, don't be like a child and be petulant and start putting things on social media and saying, well, if you keep me, I ain't going to play, and this, that, and the other. Like I say, your role model is Ronaldo, but you're nowhere near Ronaldo yet. So if you're frustrated because you're out of favour with the manager or the fans, get your head down and try and prove them wrong and put this frustration in the right way, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah. I think as well, just quickly to jump in on that, I think when you look at the culture of the club in terms of in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, and some of the players that we've had, who sort of he's probably looked up to, you likes of Sancho, Rashford at times, and, you know, a few others, you see them again doing similar things, like, you know, going out and, you know, wearing flash things and doing things they probably shouldn't be, and not sort of having that professional mentality. So you wonder if, you know, a player like him looks up to some of them at times and probably thinks, well, if they can get away with it, why can't I?
Yeah.
I think obviously when we was at the club, you know, we used to enjoy a night out and stuff, don't get me wrong, but it would always be done in the right way at the right time, and sort of anything that did sort of fall out of place, it would be dealt with in-house, and it wouldn't be made public knowledge, so that there's all this, you know, circus that comes with it. So maybe
I can tell with that too, Phil. Like I say, when we was younger, like we did enjoy night out, we did used to go on night outs, but we had that older members, you know, who'd been there and done it.
Yeah, it would just rein you in a bit.
Precisely, mate. Yeah, if you stepped up at him on, they'd let you go out and have a drink and do what you was doing. But the minute you stepped out of the line, you knew about it. You didn't have to go to Ferguson. The senior members of the club, you know, put you in your place, and you'd know damn well not to do it again before it even went to any, you know, public or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%, mate.
Yeah, again, I think it's just the state of affairs how the club's been in the last kind of, I would say 4 or 5 years, but even in the last decade, I think that it's naturally shifted kind of one way. You know, since Sir Alex left, I think standards in different areas of the club has kind of slipped. Now, I think in some ways, I think Sir Jim is starting to pull that back in slowly in different areas of the club, and I think he's trying his best in that regard. Now, I know there's obviously a lot of contention about ticket prices and stuff and other things for fans. And look, I'm kind of on that side of the fence as well as a season ticket holder myself, like, you know. But like when I look at like the best in class people he's bringing into the club. So these new sponsors coming in, new training ground. The club now seems to want to take a new leaf now and try, I suppose, turn the page in terms of kind of what's happened the last decade. Look, it's not gonna happen overnight, but I think getting rid of like Rashford, Garnacho, Anthony, Jadon Sancho, people like that who have had troubled times at the club. Look, it's a starting point, and bringing in these good proven characters like your Cunhas, your Wemos, a young kid in Sesko who took less money to come to the club. I think that's a good starting point.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah, 100%, and I think that's what we've been crying out for the last 3 or 4 years, especially with players that we're bringing in, the recruitment side of things, not just on the field, off the field. Are they the right characters to come into the club and, for some of the younger players to learn from and have good role models and be a part of a group that wants to drive each other on and take that next step now to, try and get us back to sort of, where we was sort of 15 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. You've segued me into what I actually wanted to talk about. You're talking about next steps. Ruben's obviously in the phase of rebuilding. He's said some players are going. These new players have came in. Obviously, when you don't have a pre-season, it isn't ideal, and we've seen that last season for quite a bit of time. That things weren't clicking on the pitch. For both of you as ex-pros, how important is getting a pre-season coming into a campaign? Like, how important is getting that preparation and getting that kind of, I suppose, that mental and physical edge?
It's a massive thing, pre-season. I always found it was a massive, not just to get your fitness levels up, obviously, before you start the season, but to start building them bonds. Hopefully Amarin's got it into his head now what his starting 11 is going to be, and hopefully, even if it's not been on the pitch as in playing the games, but in the training sessions they've had, building relationships with the defence, and then the defence to the midfield, and getting used to how they play. So we're ready for the first game of the season. We've built them relationships on and off the field. We've got that mentality. We become a team there. There's hopefully a lot of team building. What's gone on, what's done behind closed doors. That's what used to happen with us a lot. And we was always made sure that when it was the first game of the season, we was always one. We was all together. We had the same mentality of what we wanted to do. And 9 times out of 10, we always had a good start to the season. So I'm hoping that's what's being brought back to the club now. Again, going back to the discipline and things like that, and doing it the right way. I think Amarin's spot on, and Ratcliffe and what they're doing. It's not all brilliant for fans, especially with the tickets and sometimes what's happening on and off the pitch. A lot of people might not agree with it, but it's been crying out for a change for a long time. And hopefully this reset now is what we need to push on. But yeah, to answer the question in pre-season, mate, for me it's a very, very important you have a decent pre-season.
And Phil, I suppose when you're preparing for a new season, especially when it's like the first game coming up, what's the ideal preparation for you going into that first game of the season? Like, what's going through your mind? What you're kind of thinking about and preparing for?
Yeah, I think, well, just going on off what Lee said there, obviously the pre-season, you work hard. It's a tough, probably 5-6 weeks where you maybe go away and you get that team bonding, and you work on patterns of play, and you try and get yourself to your fitness levels where you're feeling sharp and ready to hit the ground running. I think the first game of the season is always a sort of strange fixture, really. I think, no team wants to lose the first game of the season, so everybody's probably a little bit apprehensive and a little bit edgy in terms of, your first pass, your first header, your first tackle. But we used to always make sure that, we was always prepared really well. We was always really fit. We'd always worked on the way we wanted to play. And yeah, we used to just go out and have that confidence, because at the time, obviously, Manchester United, we was doing really well every single season. The confidence was there in the players. We knew we had really good players all around us, and we just sort of not took it for granted, but we was sort of quietly confident that we had the ability in the squad to just go out and perform and get a result, every other week. So it was just like any other game, and yeah, it was brilliant. I used to love the pre-seasons. As I say, it was really difficult in terms of, the stuff we used to do, some of the running and the fitness testing and the bleep tests and all that kind of
I was
stuff.
just I didn't enjoy the bleep testing, Phil. That's one thing I didn't enjoy.
Yeah. But I think, that sort of, when you're working hard together and you're pulling lads through and you sort of, that makes your team stronger for it. And obviously your competition for places, everybody wants to be in the starting 11 for the start of the campaign, but obviously you can only pick 11 players. So we used to have really good competition and sort of everybody singing off the same hymn sheet. But yeah, to answer your question, I think this Sunday when we step out against Arsenal, I think, it's a great fixture for me. I think playing Arsenal in the opening day, if you can get a win under your belt or a positive result, that sort of, kickstarts the season and gives everybody a big lift, because it's obviously a massive result against one of the favourites for the league. So I'm quietly confident that we will start well and get a positive result this weekend.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is the ideal opponent, and people might call me crazy, but they're under real pressure coming into this season. The squad, the players, and the fan base. There's I've been listening to Joe Arsenal podcast this summer, and the vibe going into that into this new season, it's so 50-50. And I was talking to my friend the other day that's an Arsenal fan, and I turned around and I said, "This feels like the 21-22 season when United finished second under Ollie, and Ollie got his players. Remember when Ollie got Sancho, Ronaldo, and Varane, and Ollie was under pressure to go win a trophy, and Ollie had a dodgy six. Remember we were doing this particular podcast, and we looked at Ollie's first 10 games. Ollie's first 10 games, we were like, he's either going to do very well or he's going to be sacked by the end of it. I look at Arsenal's set of fixtures. It's similar to us too. We have a similar start. I think both clubs are under a lot of pressure, but I think especially, you can look at it, Ruben Amorim is kind of rebuilding 10 years of kind of failure, essentially. Whereas Mikel Arteta has finished second 3 times in a row now. And for me, I feel like he's actually the one. Now, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I feel like he's the one that's actually under more pressure this weekend and this season in general than Ruben Amorim, because it's been consistent second place finishes, but it's also been 6 years without a trophy.
Go on.
I'm going to say, I believe what I've read, he's turned around and said, he's been saying, trust the process and it'll be coming. Apparently he's turned around now and said the time is now, hasn't he? He's kind of put himself under that pressure where he said that the process has been done and, it's rather now or never. So I think he's put himself under that pressure to win the trophy this year or to get success with the Premier League, So he's kind of put himself under that pressure where Ruben Amorim is, it's his first full season. He's got some new signings. So I would say that Arteta's probably under a little bit more pressure than Amorim at the moment.
Yeah, I just think, I was just going to say, I don't think he's got anywhere else he can hide now in terms of, he had the missing piece of the puzzle, i.e. the centre forward. So they've signed Gyökeres now. Obviously they've brought Zubimendi in as well, who's another sort of, attacking midfielder type player who can sort of score goals. So I think now when you look at Arsenal in terms of the full package, this is what fans and what they've been asking for. So if they don't do it this year and take that next step from where they've been in the last couple of years, then obviously ultimately that'll be judged as a failure. So it's going to be difficult because, as I say, you've signed a striker and you're basically hanging your hat on him coming in straight away and scoring 15-20 goals, and who's going to be the difference basically in jumping from second to first and bridging that gap. Now, will he be able to hit the ground running straight away and fit into the English style of the Premier League? That's yet to be seen. I'm sort of dubious on that. I think he will probably improve their goal difference a little bit, but will he have enough goals to sort of maybe catch Liverpool and obviously City if they're back to the best? I'm not quite sure. But yeah, it's a big season for Arteta. A trophy this year. If they don't win a trophy at all this year, doesn't even have to be the Premier League. I just think a trophy, and he could be in trouble.
Yeah, I agree with Alex. I think if they and yourself, Phil, if they've nothing come of silverware this year,
I think that's the thing. And look, happened with us with Ollie, where Ollie hit his ceiling at the time. Now you could argue if Ollie got his defensive midfielder than Cristiano at the time, maybe the progress could have went different. Who knows? It's one of the biggest talking points in the United fan base since that's happened. but like he's got everything. He's spent nearly £1 billion at this point, and like this summer he's bought a left winger because Madueke's going to be playing on the left now because he's looking to get rid of Martinelli. So like Madueke's going to be on the left, they Saka on the right. They bought Subamendi, who's Thomas Partey's replacement, and Subamendi's more suited to the Arteta style, or he wants to play. They got Mosquera in at centre back to be Gabriel's backup. They literally have 2 players for every position now, more or less. So, like, for me, I feel like they need to win something, or at least challenge for the league in a serious manner, and challenge for the Champions League in a serious manner this year, and maybe pick up the FA Cup or Carabao Cup along the way. Like, for me, if Arsenal still finish top 4 this season, but won a trophy, I see that as progress. Do you remember in 2006, lads, when we were doing a rebuild and it took us, we went a couple of years without winning the league, and then in 2006 we won the League Cup with a young squad.
Yeah.
And then that set the tone for
that could be the catalyst for someone like Arsenal who's not won a trophy in a considerable amount of time. This year, I think it's vital that, all right, Arsenal need to have a good run in the league because they've been finishing second, and obviously in the Champions League they want to go probably a step further. But I think it's imperative, if Arteta keeps his job, that they don't just disregard the likes of the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup and just concentrate and put all their eggs in one basket, because, as you say, that could be the difference between him keeping his job and not, and showing that little bit of progress, i.e. getting over the line and bringing some silverware into the club.
And Sean says here in the comments as well, he says there'll be more pressure on Arteta if Gyökeres underperforms and Sesko goes well. It's interesting he says that, because Arteta actually wanted Sesko, and their director of football chose Gyökeres, and ultimately they got Gyökeres.
But it's going to be interesting to watch both of them, isn't it? They both don't really know what they're going to do in the Premier League. There's so many great players come to the Premier League and underperformed, and so many players have left the Premier League and we thought they was mediocre at best and gone on to have great careers elsewhere in different leagues. So it's watching both of them. It's going to be very interesting this season to see, for one, if they both can perform and he performs the best. It's going to be a good watch to keep an eye on that one, to be honest.
Yeah, and also as well, it's kind of an observation and kind of thought I've had. Arsenal's style of play in the last 3-4 years has been dictated obviously by Havertz dropping deep, Saka and Martinelli running inside. Phil, yourself as a striker, you'll know this. The dynamic of their attack is now going to change because Gyökeres is more of a box player. So how do you think that's going to work?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think because they've never really had a typical number 9, and they've sort of played with inverted wingers and false 9s, if you like. Now that is going to be a bit of a, depending on how well they've worked on that as well in pre-season, they've not had that much time with him. It is going to be interesting to see how that pans out. I think, depending on how he starts, in terms of if he can get off to a good start with a couple of goals. I think as a centre forward, confidence is massive, and once you've scored a couple of goals, you sort of just looking forward to the next game. But if he hasn't scored in the first couple of games, and obviously the longer that runs on, like obviously we remember with Højlund how he had a bit of a saga with, I can't remember exactly how many games it was, but he hadn't scored in quite a considerable amount of games, and then it becomes a talking point and it becomes a weight on the player's shoulder. Everybody else is thinking about, where's the goals going to come from if obviously there's other players that aren't hitting the net. So it is going to be an interesting one. I think Arteta's going to have to ultimately give him a chance to sort of see how he gets on, and then if it isn't working and if he is struggling in terms of not being able to, create as many opportunities for him as they'd like, they may have to tweak things. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, they've got good players. I think Saka, he's a very good player and will create chances. You've got Odegaard, Zubamendi and Madueke. So if they're struggling to create chances, then there's something going wrong there with the amount of quality they've got. It's just whether he can start the season well and get off to a hot start, because as a striker, speaking from experience, there's nothing better than scoring a couple of goals early on in the season. It just sets the tone straight away, and
that was your turn for the season, doesn't it?
Yeah, it just puts a marker down for everything really. You know, other teams are looking at him going, "Oh yeah, he's started well." Whereas if it goes the other way, and then teams are looking, thinking, "Yeah, he's not having it, and his confidence isn't looking good, and we can keep him out." It sort of has a massive effect to that. You'd be surprised at how big of an impact that kind of thing has in terms of, and it'll be the same for us with Sesko. If he doesn't score in his first few games, and people start getting on his back and looking at United and thinking, what have they done signing him and another Hoyland and all this kind of stuff. It's mad how a couple of goals can change the dynamic of a team, a player, a season. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one to see how that pans out with Arsenal. But I'm quietly confident, obviously, after the first game that he will start to score and do okay, because they've got that much quality. They can't not create many chances. It's just about whether he can take them.
Yeah, and it depends how they gel as well, don't it? It kind of depends how it'll take time, like obviously, because he actually didn't have a full pre-season either. So
yeah,
and Sesko's had kind of a pre-season. He's only had a couple of games, so I think both of them are kind of starting a bit late. But look, it'd be interesting to see how they broke it on.
I think just to add just the last point to that with Sesko, because I've been wrecking my brains about, obviously, because we don't know. I think we all said on the podcast last week we don't know a massive amount about him. But if we can get Cunha and we can get Mbeumo, Ahmad, and Dorgu providing that service, if you're a decent striker, and the quality what we've got now in them wide positions, there should be no reason why you're not bagging 20 goals in a season if you've got that quality about you.
Exactly, yeah. And if that many players, you should, like in theory, you should get chances. Whereas, like, and I mentioned this on the podcast last week, the problem with Hoyland last year was a lot of the time was not even the amount of balls that were getting whipped into the box. It was his movement in the box preventing us from, so I suppose, and then I suppose positions where we have the ball and it's a bit stagnant. He's not gambling. Do you know what I mean? Making that kind of run where so he takes the defender away. I think that was a bit of his problem last year.
Yeah. I think a lot of the times going forward last year, I almost felt like we'd lost any idea of what we were doing when we get over the halfway line and we'd lose our edge back inside. I think we've done that for quite a number of seasons now. We're watching the games and what little I have watched in pre-season, we do look a hell of a lot better on the attack. We look like we're better in transition. We look like we're attacking quicker. We're getting balls into the box quicker. And this is what I mentioned about Hoyland. It does look like obviously he's probably going to go now. I would have loved to have seen him get that kind of service, because I still think deep down there is a player in Hoyland. I think he's a massive confidence player. And I would have loved to have seen him with the service to see what he could do, because I've got a feeling if he goes into a team what are providing that service, I think we could kick ourselves in the teeth a little bit by letting him go.
Potentially, yeah. Potentially that could happen. And like Fulham actually have contacted the club this evening about a potential transfer firm as well. So that's more of a permanent deal than the loan deal that Milan are offering as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him, especially towards the end of the window, because that hopefully open up the door then for Baleba then to come in. Ye both mentioned Cunha and Mbeumo obviously coming in, and obviously we spoke about Sesko. Obviously, there's two players who were kind of very attacking-minded players there in Varane and Forlan, and they came in with very high hopes, kind of similar to what Cunha and Mbeumo were. You both were at the club at the time when these two lads were there. Obviously, these two were unbelievable talents, and they had such high expectations. Why do you think these two lads struggled actually when they came?
If you would have seen Varane on the training pitch, oh my God, it was different gravy. Absolutely different gravy on the training pitch. You could not get near him. He was just unbelievable. And then it used to come to a game day, and you could see he had all the ability in the world. He just, for whatever reason, just wasn't suited to the Premier League. And people say it's because of the pace and the intensity and things like that of the league. But we touched on it a little bit before the podcast, me and you, Keane. Every training session was back in the day was intense as what you used to play a match. If you was moving up from the resis and then going training with the first team, you was in for a kicking. Roy Keane and Scholesy and people like that wouldn't take it easy as a young 17, 18-year-old lad. They'd let you know they mean business. If you're moving up to the first team, you soon knew that you had to hold your own. So it's mind-boggling for me sometimes, because when you watch, like I say, you like to Varane, who was, and I think anyone who played with him and traded with him will tell you he was unbelievable. It just begs belief how he couldn't do it in the Premier League for me.
Yeah, I think similar for Forlan as well. Like he had, a brilliant record in terms of international level. And when he came to the club, I think it was difficult because obviously at the start he was probably playing second fiddle to Ruud and a couple of others who were probably ahead of him. Did score some big goals. I do remember him scoring some big goals at times, but I just don't think he got the proper run of games that you probably need as a Man United centre forward in terms of having a proper run of games where you can build up them relationships and you can learn and you can find them little patterns of play with certain players. I think Forlan didn't quite get the run of games maybe that other centre forwards did get. And sort of you seen the results with other strikers who did get that. I think the ability was definitely there. I remember doing finishing sessions with him, after training, and Forlan was an exceptional finisher. Left foot, right foot. He had an absolute ping on him. He was brilliant, but it just didn't quite work for him. And I just think it was probably down to not having that proper run of games, what you probably need at a top club. Regardless of how fit and how sharp you are in training, I think playing matches and getting up to speed, match fit, is a different sort of kettle of fish for me when you're talking at the top level, playing week in, week out. You're guaranteed then to sort of give yourself the best chance. I don't think he quite got that. And Varane was, as Lee said, just didn't quite work for him for whatever reason, because in training and the ability he had, we speaks for itself. It was just a weird one. That's a bit of a head scratching moment when you look at somebody who came in with that ability and didn't quite work. But again, testament to the other players who were around him, Keane, Scholes. They probably kept him out of the team because of how good they was as well.
Yeah, 100%. And it's crazy actually, because when you look at some of the players who have actually come to the club, let's say down the years, you've had players like Di Maria, Falcao, Forlan, Varane, Donny van de Beek,
Alexis Sanchez.
I'm just thinking Sanchez. Thinking that myself, Sanchez. One of the biggest disappointments ever for me was Sanchez.
Yeah, Arsenal, he was incredible, and you're thinking, what a player we've signed, and he just didn't, for whatever reason, just didn't work for him.
It was the other side from American striker. His name's gone, and he come with a massive reputation. He did nothing.
Falcao.
Falcao was another one. When they signed him, I was doing cartwheels. They did nothing.
Yeah, what's we paid for him that season was like a £5 million loan fee or something. It was one of the highest loan fees at the time. Now there's been very high loan fees since with inflation, but like it was one of the highest loan fees ever. Like when we
I think that shows if you look at it in a different perspective, what was going on about earlier on in the podcast when it was obviously the under Ferguson. We've got legends like John O'Shea, Darren Fletcher, players like that. They had not even a tenth of the ability of the players we were on about, but because they had that upbringing and that willingness to do well and work for the team, and they was team players. Look at the status now. 20 odd years down the line, we all still think of them as fantastic United players. Didn't have all the ability in the world, but was willing to work out for the team and let the football do the talking, and none of this silly business off the field.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Like again, like you brought up John O'Shea there. It's mad. I'm just getting flashbacks to him not Megan Vigo right now. The minute you, the minute you mentioned that, like, or his goals for Ireland, he was a brilliant player, and like he's a Waterford man as well, which is about half an hour down the road from where I'm from. So I always have a soft spot for John O'Shea.
His last-minute goal at Anfield as well was always a good one when he scored the goal at Anfield to win in the last minute.
John was brilliant for the young lads. I know he weren't much older than me, but he was a fantastic role off the pitch. He was very good with the young lads coming up to a really nice blow, John.
Yeah,
100%. And again, that's a testament to how the culture and how players were, the upbringing of these players back in the day was just so much better than what it is now. Actually, speaking about one of our younger academy graduates today, Toby Collier looks like he's going out on loan to West Brom in the Championship, which, in theory, lads, opens up a place for a midfielder in the squad. I'll ask you kind of a quick fire question. By the end of this transfer window, do you think Manchester United sign Carlos Baleba?
I think
Sorry,
Go on,
Phil.
I'll just quickly jump in late. I think they will, but it'll depend on a couple of outgoings in terms of if they can get some money accrued. I think just seen Sancho there, 20 million. So if that happens, and probably the Garnacho one, then yeah, I think that could be a good potential shout for us to get him in.
Yeah, 100%. And Lee, I'm going to throw this to you quickly. Obviously, Donnarumma looks like he's going to Man City. If there is a transfer goalkeeper, who would be the goal? And I know Donnarumma's kind of out of the question now. So any other keeper in world football you look at now and think that's, I suppose, will be a good character to come in?
I've not really thought about it because I genuinely thought we was going to get Donnarumma. Last week's podcast, I was all set that we was getting Donnarumma. So kind of throw me that question, mate, because I hadn't even thought about anybody else. To be fair, I know we need a keeper. Like I said to you last week, for me, it was more important to get a goalkeeper than it was to get a midfield player. That's just my opinion. I do think we're crying out for a midfield player. I would 100% love to say we'll get Believer. I'm a little bit more pessimistic. I don't think we're going to get it over the line quick enough. I'm not sure Brighton will budge. I don't think we'll be able to come up with the funds what Brighton will want, which is a real shame because I would love him to be there. I'm not sure about the keeper, mate. Who do you think? Because I can't think of another one off the top of my head who I'd go for.
See, my second option by Donnarumma was Martinez from Villa.
Has that not been put a stop to? I thought we'd pulled out of that. I didn't think we was interested in him anymore because I wanted him before Donnarumma. I'd have took him all day long. World Cup winner. I think he's got a character you either love or hate. I think if he's playing for your club, you absolutely love him. If he's playing against your club, you absolutely hate him and want to rip his head off. But I think he would be. I would thought that would have been a great signing, but I thought that was done and dusted out the water.
We went in at the start of the summer and asked Villa for a loan deal, and Villa said no. But like with their PSR issues, they haven't really signed anyone. But the only problem I see with us even trying to go for him now is they sold Jacob Ramsey today for 40 million, which is pure profit. So I think that might kind of sort their issues out slightly. So there's this Lemons guy that people are talking about for 17 million that we're looking at. Now, again, I'm not going to let on to be a football Twitter hipster and say I've seen this guy play loads of times. His highlights look good. He can't be any worse than Onana, and touch him wouldn't I say that. So who knows if he does come in or not. Or it's mad. I look at Onana and I look at the boy in Deer. Our third place keeper, I'd actually put Tom Heaton in ahead of the two of them.
Yeah, I was just going to say the exact same, mate. If it come down to a choice of all three, I would put Tom in. I would start with Tom all day long.
Yeah, 100%. And he's Premier League experience as well with Villa and Burnley as well. Like, do you know what I mean? And he's actually played well on the tour. And Dave says here then as well, Amram knows Onana's a problem. He'd be shocked if you don't bring someone in for transfer window. I think we're going to bring that because there's a lot of talk around here still. Even am I gone? Am I back?
Yeah, you're back, mate. Go on. Sorry, just dropped out a minute then.
Back? Yeah,
you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. I don't know, my whole screen just froze for a second there. I don't know what's going on.
Just dropped out.
But obviously, with this weekend, am I back now?
Yeah.
Perfect. Coming into this weekend, then I want to get both of your preferred starting 11s going into Sunday. Lee, I'll come to you first. What would be your 11 going into Sunday?
I knew you was going to ask this. This is why I wrote it down about 5 minutes before I come on the podcast. So I went with this is the starting 11. I would personally, like I say, I would go with Tom Heaton. I think he'll go with Binder. I would personally go with Tom. We mentioned it last week. It's probably a bit of an unpopular opinion, to be fair, but I think Maguire is our best centre-back at the moment. I would not drop Maguire. I think
100%.
that for me it's whoever's going to play with Maguire. And if you would have asked me that a season or two ago, I would have laughed at myself by saying that. But at this moment in time, I think you've got to start Maguire. I like Lenny Yoro. So I'd play Lenny Yoro in the back three. I think his distribution, he's just got to sharpen up a little bit with that, but I think he warrants a start. And then I was a little bit contradicting myself who else I'd put in. Aidan Evan again is a young lad. It's come from Arsenal. He'll want to prove a point. I'm not again overly sold. I think his defending is a good defender. I think he's a little bit
raw.
Ball. I think it's a little bit immature when it comes to that. He's not got much experience of Premier League, so I'd probably myself, if Shaw's fit, stick Shaw at the back with the three. So I'd have a back three: Maguire, Yoro, and Shaw. I think the wing backs pick themselves. I think you've got Dorgu on the left. We don't know much about the new kid at the moment, so I'd have to go with Dorgu. He's had a great pre-season. He's looked very well. He's looked. I didn't actually rate him last season as a fullback or a wing back. I didn't think he was. He didn't do much for me, and that was obviously my position. So I watched him carefully. Again, his distribution. I wasn't sold, but I've watched him in pre-season, and I thought, he's come on leaps and bounds. So I'd keep him in there. Ahmad, I'd probably keep him at right wing back, although I do like him a little bit further up the pitch. Middle two, you're always going to start Bruno. It's whoever plays with Bruno. I've gone for Manu at the moment. I think Manu could be world class. I've seen a lot of things on Twitter saying, should we get rid of him? For me, not a chance. We should get rid of Manu. I think we should let him develop underneath our system, underneath Bruno. Hopefully, they can develop a bit of a partnership in there. Time will tell. We have got the rotation. If it doesn't work, of obviously bringing, the likes of Casemiro in, Ugarte, or even having a look at. I was toying with the idea of things aren't working out. Maybe taking Manu off, pushing Ahmad up, bringing Dallo on, and maybe bringing Cunha into the middle and changing it up that way a little bit. So we've got the rotation there. What we can do, putting Cunha as a number 10. But I would start Bruno and Manu in midfield, and then for me, and when we're on the left, Cunha on the right, and I would 100% chuck him in at the deep end and put Sesko as a number 9, mate.
Lovely. And I think Sean agrees with your lineup some bit there. He said he didn't put the keeper in, so he went. I'm going to say Tom Heaton because Fred the Red isn't registered to play. So I'm going to say he went Tom Heaton, Maguire, Yaro, and then the Sandro Martinez or Heaven. Sandro Martinez is actually out till about October, unfortunately. I think he's going to be great when he comes back.
Yeah.
To come into the system. We really need someone to kind of pump that ball into the midfielders, and he will definitely help that when he comes back. He's went to the midfield pair of Bruno and Ugarte in midfield. He's gone Diallo and Dorgu as the wing backs, and then Mbeumo and Cunha and Benjamin Sesko as well. 100%. Phil, do you have the same kind of lineup as Lee, or do you have any different partnerships in different positions?
No, mate, I pretty much have the same team as Lee. I was looking at it and looking at different combinations in the midfield. That was the only problem area, really. I think all the other positions at this moment in time with what we've got available pretty much picks itself. And yeah, I would definitely give Sesko his first start. I think it's a brilliant game for him to come into. But yeah, I'm pretty much sticking with what Lee said. I think the only other sort of combination I was looking at, obviously you mentioned Manu. I didn't know if Mount was maybe in the thoughts around that as well, just because obviously he's had a decent pre-season and his energy levels in terms of a game in the midfield, the industry. But yeah, I would probably stick with Manu and Bruno at the base. Yeah.
What do you think about that idea? I mean, I only really thought about it today. If things aren't going right, Ahmad does do probably for me a lot of his better work forward more than
yeah.
But I thought it could be a thing where if Bruno and Manu isn't working to bring one of them off, but possibly would be Manu. What I've watched of Cunha, what I really like is the ability to carry the ball forward from midfield and pick a great pass out. And I'm just wondering whether in 70 minutes, if we're looking for a goal, do we stick Ahmad further up and possibly bring Cunha into midfield and let's see what he can do there. I think it could work.
Yeah.
Possibly, yeah. Like I think carrying the ball, definitely. I think my only concern with that would be going back the way, off the ball. But I think on the ball, it'd be devastating.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if we need a goal, for example, if we're drawing and we want to go for the win or we're a goal down, I think on the ball, the options that would open up would be fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. And he can play as a false 9 as well, which means he can even drop into them positions, link up, and then Bruno can go that way. Ahmad can go that way.
The other option we've got to and he's back fit, because I think he could do that. He really impressed me towards just before he got injured, and I think he could play that. He could play that role really well when he comes back too.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think there's options in certain positions, and I think Cunha can definitely deliver that as well. In there as well. And Dave then said in the comments as well, he said Mane was a generational talent. It's on Ruben to find his right position. And we sell that kid and we were doomed. I agree. I think he's too good. He's too good of a player, I think, to not find a way to make it work. Like I said this last week, there was times where we didn't make Paul Pogba work because he never had like that number 6 beside him to let him go on and express himself. We need to get Kobbie Mainoo, that right partner where they can do the sitting and then let Mainoo go forward, get on the ball, make things happen. I know Paul Pogba and Mainoo are 2 different players, right, in terms of like profile, but they're both naturally talented footballers who play the game on the edge. Do you know what I mean? So like, I'd be ashamed to see Mainoo kind of, I suppose, leave the club and then we regret it. And then Sean is saying in the comments as well, he's excited to see Big Ben up front. I think it's not going to be his nickname now, Big Ben. Yeah. I'm going to go... Will I go preferred or will I go what I really think?
Go what you think.
Really think?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Onana's playing in goal, unfortunately, I think.
Yeah.
And that kills me. That destroys me. I think he'll go Yoro, Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw. I agree with Lee. I think that'll be the back 3. Dorgu's playing left back. Ruben is pragmatic in big games. Will he go Dallo? He shouldn't. He should go 1 defensive wing back and 1 attacking wing back. So I think he should go Ahmad, and he will go Ahmad because he's been starting there all pre-season, and Dallo's a game and a half behind in terms of game time. So logic will tell me what he'll start, but logic goes out the window most times. So I'll go Ahmad and Dorgu as the wing backs. I think it's going to be Casemiro and Bruno as the midfield too. That disgusts me. I'd love to see Kobbie start, but I think he likes big casts in the big games. I think it'll be Casemiro and Bruno. And then he'll go the front 3 of Ahmad, Cunha, and Mbeumo. I think Sesko will come off the bench second half.
Who do you think will play central, Keane?
Sorry, I said Ahmad twice. I think Dallo will start right wing back, focused, yeah. And I'll go then it'll be Mbeumo, Ahmad, and Cunha will be the false 9 like he was against Fiorentina. And then Ahmad and Mbeumo will kind of switch them during the game.
I was just thinking then, because when you'd said Ahmad again, I was thinking,
yeah.
I just realised you'd said him twice. That's why I was thinking who would play central.
I realised I said him twice as well, and I realised I messed up then at that point.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I think that's a good shout, to be fair. Casemiro is Ruben's... I think Ruben likes him in terms of his experience and stuff, so it wouldn't be a surprise if he did start. I think for us, though, we're just trying to look at the future. I think Casemiro's days are numbered in terms of, like, moving forward. I think Mainoo now, we should be building the team around players like him to take us forward for the next 5-10 years. Do you know what I mean?
I think you've got a valid point to you, Phil, with what you said about what the hell his name's going out of my head. Give me an idea. His bloody name's gone. Mason Mount. I think he's just
Mount. Yeah.
He probably won't get a start. I don't think he'll get
No. I just thought it was worth mentioning because I think Amarin does like him, and I think because of his sort of industrious sort of the way he plays the game, and obviously against Arsenal, he might. I mean, I don't think he will, but it could be something he maybe considers just for that reason alone, really.
I think he can feel unjustified to not be in the starting 11, showing what he showed at the back end of the season and what he showed in pre-season. You know what I mean? I don't think he'll get a game. I think he actually deserves one, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree as well. I think it is time to blood him in, but I think I said this the other day to Sean, who was actually in the comments there. I think what's probably going to happen is Bruno will stay this season. He'll go to Saudi next year, and then the midfield for the next 5, 6 years, 7 years, it's going to be Mane and Baleba in the middle of the park.
Be nice.
That's what I think what the long-term succession plan will be. Now, whoever's watching this can clip this up and come back to me on 14th of August 2026 and they can tell me I'm wrong. they can come back to me and tell me I'm wrong, and I'll happily admit it. If Sean's watching that, he'll definitely clip this up and tell me I'm wrong this time next year. But on that, before we get a score prediction, right? And so we're going to start that competition between the three of us again to see who gets the right score prediction. This used to be good crack back in the day when we used to do this. I'm going to get some quick fire season predictions from you, right? This is going to be very quick, right? I'm going to ask you United's league finish, who's going to be our player of the season, young player of the season, and then where we'll end up in the FA Cup, Carabao Cup, and who's going to be, I suppose, the most improved player from last season. So, Lee, I'll come to you first. Where are we finishing in the league this season? I keep saying next year. What's this year?
I'm going to go. It's hard because if we sound believer, then it's a different story for me. I'm gonna go 6. I'm gonna be optimistic, and that's optimistic. An optimistic 6 for a league. I think between 6th and 8th place we'll get, and I'll be optimistic. Hopefully, we sign a midfield player, and I'll go for 6.
Perfect. You said 6. Phil, what do you think? I'm noting this down so we can review this in a year's time to see how we go.
As soon as you said league position, it's straight away in my head I said 6th. That was exactly the position I said straight away. I think that's a realistic league position in terms of where we finished last season, the way last season went, to what we've sort of accrued in terms of transfers and obviously pre-season. I can see us finishing, as Lee said, between 6th and 8th this year, but I'm going to go optimistically and go 6th.
Because if I go 6th, we're going to be tied. Now, none of us might score a point for this. I'm going to go out on the limb and I'm going to say we're going to finish 5th.
Yeah.
I'd be happy if you win that one, Keane.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind losing that one.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say 5th. I don't know, maybe it's delusion, but I think 1 game a week. We've seen when Liverpool went 1 game a week a couple of years ago how it done them well. So it'll be interesting to see. Player of the season for United, strictly.
I will go because I really, really like him, and I've liked him for a number of seasons. I actually think I said on the podcast a good few seasons ago I would like him to join the club, and I think I got a few raised eyebrows about it. But I really do like him, and I think he's going to be sensational this year. I'm going for Cunha.
Cunha, perfect, spot on. Phil?
I thought he was going to do the same to me again then, because I think it'll be Mbeumo. I've been singing his praises for quite a few number of seasons. I think as an attacking player, I don't think he gets the credit he deserves, and I think obviously now coming to a big club, he seems like the kind of person who will embrace that and have a really good season. So I'm going to go for Mbeumo.
So you went Cunha, Lee's went Cunha, Phil's went Mbeumo. I have to go for a different player. I was going to say Sesko, but I feel he might take a while to get going. I could go the most obvious option and go Bruno. If we're going to do well, it's going to have to be an attacking player, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's kind of the way it goes, don't it? Because I was going to go with Maguire, but that means we're probably in a bad position. I'm gonna go with the status quo. I'm gonna go Bruno Fernandes. So I've no other choice because Lee robbed my one. Right, young player of the year.
For me, if he stays injury free and he sorts his distribution out a little bit better, and I do think he has got good distribution. I think it's just a confidence thing because he's a young player, and I think he'll get the game time and he will get the confidence with the game time. I'd go for Lenny Yoro.
Lenny Yoro. Ooh, interesting. Phil?
I'm going to say Dorgu. If he counts, does he count? I don't know how old he is. Is he young enough to count in that category?
He's 19.
Yeah,
He's
well, that's young enough. Yeah. I'm going to say Dorgu. I think he's looked really well in pre-season. I think it's a big year for him in terms of he's had a little taste of, the Premier League last season. And that was probably in a struggling side, and he did pretty well in most games I've seen him last year. I think this year, now we've got a bit more quality, and going forward, I think he can have a big impact this year in terms of not just defensively, I think attacking-wise as well. I think he can, get some good assists this year and sort of be a good threat for us on that left-hand side.
Yeah, he can be. I think, and he's very good. He's really improved kind of in the last couple of months, and especially the start of this season. Do you know the way the PFA do young player of the year? Are we going from 23 and then what's our cutoff point? I'm asking these lads who came to the
24 or under, I'd say.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to go Ahmad then.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because even though he's a seasoned player, he's still kind of at that age.
Yeah,
so
still young. Yeah, he's still young.
I'll go Ahmad, even though he won't get nominated for the Jimmy
Yeah,
Murphy.
well, we can do it as a collective in our three. I think that's fair.
If we've got enough viewers, we can put a poll together with the viewers and we'll do it from that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll chat to Wayne after this and see if we can put a poll out on the YouTube page actually or Twitter, and we'll get that sorted afterwards. Top goal scorer.
Gonna have to go Sesko, mate.
So Lee's gonna go Sesko.
I'm gonna go. It's a difficult one because Bruno with the penalties and stuff like that. But no, I'm not going to go Bruno. I'm going to go Mbeumo. I think he's going to be my player to watch this season. I think he's going to have to chip at least between 10 and 15 goals this year. And I think that probably will be around our top goal scorer sort of range. So I'm hoping he will get 15 goals this year. I'll go Mbeumo.
Mbeumo. Will I go Cunha? Or do I go rogue and say Joshua Xerxes? Do I go rogue? Do I go absolutely rogue? If we had Europe, maybe one game a week, I don't think so. I'll go Bruno just to kind of to make sure we don't have like a tiebreaker at any point that someone just wins outright. I'll go Bruno because so you mentioned it, Philip. Which one of you mentioned penalties? Was one of you?
Yeah, I just said it. I was thinking Bruno straight away just because of the amount of penalties and free kicks and stuff. But I'm gonna just say Mbeumo because I fancy him for having a good year this year. So we'll need him to get at least between 10 and 15 goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Dave said Euro for young player, and he also said Matthias de Ligt for player of the season as well. Yeah, he's actually due a season because he had injuries last year, so hopefully he can kick on. I think that'd be good for him because there's a player there.
Definitely a player there. It's just if I think it's rather going to be between Maguire and de Ligt. I don't think they can play together. I think it's going
for that middle role. Yeah. For that kind of centre back role, it's going to be between the two of them because like Euro's definitely going to have to start. And Sean said he's on the same page as Phil that it's a young player for Dorgu. So the FA Cup, where are we going?
Was we not doing a most improved player? Did you not say most improved too?
We go most improved. Then we go the last two competitions. Yeah, we go most improved.
Can you hear me? You just dropped out. Then are you back in?
Yeah, go on, mate. Most improved. Go on.
Most improved. So the reason I didn't choose Dorgu as my young player was because I was keeping him for my most improved. Like I mentioned earlier, I were overly struck at him as a left back or left wing back last season. showed a lot of ability, but his final ball was lacking a little bit, and he come back a little bit too much. But what I've seen him in pre-season, I think he's gonna really, really do well this season. So that's why I've gone for him, not the young player, but the most improved player.
Phil?
Well, I've done the opposite to Lee. So I didn't go for Yoro because I wanted Dorgu as the young player, and I went for Yoro as going to be the most improved player. I think last year he had probably not, as many games as he probably would have wanted, but I think there was a couple of games where he didn't look quite as settled as he does now. And I think now he's had that little taste from last year. I think this year is a big year for him. I think he'll be our probably main centre half, really. So I'm hoping he can be our sort of mainstay at the back.
Yeah, 100%. I think them two are really good shouts. I think both of them have a very high ceiling. I think both of them actually have a good season. Then we'll have to debate amongst ourselves. We'll have to look at the stats or something for like them defensive players and be like, if we get to that tiebreaker and who's most improved, if it gets to that end. But they are both fantastic young players. I was going to go Mason Mount, but I'm actually going to go Joshua Zirkzee. I feel like he can play either up front or number 10. I think he's going to be a player who's going to be crucial for us. And especially in that Europa League run, I went to more or less every Europa League game bar one last season at home, and he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, his first touch and the way he plays football. If he can get a run of games and stay fit, there's an absolute brilliant, superb footballer in there, I think. And
for me, at times last year with Zirkzee, after we had obviously the bad time where he got booed off at Newcastle, I was actually at that game. Probably the worst thing I've ever seen at Old Trafford. I felt so sorry for him. It was horrendous. But that is the type of attitude you need, isn't it? We was on about it right on early in the podcast. He didn't sulk. He didn't throw his toys out the pram. He got his head down. And he made football towards the end look effortlessness. It looked like he was floating with the ball sometimes, which,
I think that's a great shout as well, to be fair, from Keane, because if you think this year as well now, with the players that we've got in them attacking positions, Cunha and Buemo and Sesko, I think Zirkzee will be able to link up with them a lot better than he was last year in terms of Højlund and the others. I think it just works better, and I think he is in for having a big season. It's just whether he gets the opportunities and he gets to run a game.
It's whether he can stay fit as well, because he had a couple of injuries last week as well. So yeah, 100%. And then just quickly before we wrap up, are we going to win the FA Cup, or where are we going to go in the FA Cup?
I think I would go for, just because I had a chat with you the other day, and I was saying I've been trying to forge teams who I think are going to be my starting 11. We have got a decent squad, to be fair, and I think with the Carabao Cup, the League Cup itself, I think we've got a very, very decent second squad, and obviously a lot of the better teams tend to put the squad players out at the beginning of the competition, and I think we're going to do right well in that because I think we've got quite a lot of strength in depth with the squad at the moment. So I think we'll do better in the Carabao Cup. So I'd go for winning that.
Okay, Carabao.
And I'll go for semi-finals of the FA Cup.
Winners. Phil, are you saying with the League Cup, are you going winners?
No, I'm not. I've got a funny feeling. I think I've got more chance of the FA Cup. I don't know why. I think Lee's logic makes more sense, but I'm just going to try and go different to Lee. So I'm going to say, can you say finalist in the FA Cup, or do we have to say win it?
You can say whatever a prediction.
Yeah, I think we've got a good chance of getting to the final in the FA Cup with no Europe, and obviously the squad looking better. And then Carabao, I'll say quarter-final.
So Lee said winners for Carabao, and then Phil said quarterfinals. And then I'm going to go us to get knocked out by Grimsby in the second round. No, I'm only messing. I'll go semi-finals then. Semi-finals for League Cup. And Lee, what do you say for FA Cup again? Do you say...
I went semi-finals FA Cup, mate.
Okay. And I said final.
Lee, semi-finals. This would be great crack at the end of the season when we review this to see how right or how wrong we were. This could be brilliant.
Now, I was always terrible, so if anyone's thinking of copying me, don't bother, because I always get it wrong every week.
and then Phil said finalists for the FA Cup. And then I predict this every season, and I'm not going to not do it. I'm going to go as to win the FA Cup. I do this every year.
Yeah.
And I'm rarely right, but I'm going to go winners. So just do a quick summary of our predictions. Lee and Phil went for 6th place finishes in the league. I went for a 5th place finish. Lee's player of the season, Cunha, Phil's and Wemo, mine Bruno. Young player of the season, Lee went Yaro, Phil went Dargu, I went Ahmad. Top scorer, Lee went Benjamin Sesko, Phil went Wemo, I went Bruno. Most improved, Lee went Dargu, Phil went Yaro, and I went Xerxes. In the Carabao Cup, Lee went us to win it. Phil said quarterfinals, I said semis. And then FA Cup, Lee says semis. Phil says finalists, and then I went winners. So, guys, if you're watching live or listen on the replay, or do listen to the replay on YouTube, get your comments in. Let us know what you think about our predictions. And give your predictions as well. And engage with us on Twitter and stuff like that as well. But before we go, lads, I can't not get these off yet. What are your score predictions for Sunday?
I'm gonna go draw. I'm gonna go a draw. I'm gonna go for a 2-2 draw.
Phil?
I'm gonna go 2-1 win. I'm gonna go a positive start to the season. I think we can upset Arsenal on the opening day. I'm gonna go 2-1. And Buemo, brace.
So Lee's gone 2-1, Phil's gone 2-1. I'm going to do this for the crack. I'm going to go 3-1. I'm going to go 3-1 United.
I'm just a little bit nervous about the back four or the back three or the back five, whatever we play. I'm still not 100% think we're solid enough not to concede a couple of goals against Arsenal. That's my logic with it. But I think we've got the power up front, the player power to score a couple of goals too. That's where I feel like thinking 2-2.
Yeah. Like, we have the power to score goals. Whether we can keep them out at the back would be the interesting thing, especially with the goalkeeper as well. So there's our score predictions there. So Lee went 2-1, Phil went 2-1, I went 3-1. We're going to come back to this next Thursday and we'll see. Hopefully we get 3 points, or it'll be what we'll be talking about, what went wrong, what went right. But until then, guys, thanks very much everyone for watching. Do make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. And obviously drop your comments below as well. Give your thoughts on the show. Give your thoughts on the topics we talked about tonight, and always give your predictions as well. And obviously, if you're listening on our audio platforms, so obviously do give us a like and give us a share over there, and do give us a star rating as well. And also give us a follow on Twitter as well. And also do catch Wayne's podcast with Dave and Paul Parker on the Monday, and then also the Tactics podcast as well. So do check them out. And as always, do catch lads on social media as well. They do tweet about United as well. They do have good insight there. But until then, guys, thanks very much everyone for watching. It's very good to be back. Very good for a new season. And hopefully it's the start of a historic season for Manchester United. Until then, guys, we'll see you later.